So we're here today with Sean Sweeny, who's setting up a sports training academy. Simon and James are realtors like me, and we're just talking about how to set up a sports training camp, either in Ottawa or close to Ottawa. And Sean and I have been talking about this for a long time. And I was just mentioning to the boys that there's a famous story about Disney where two middle-aged guys, I think one was Canadian, one was an American, wanted to set up a sports fantasy camp at Disney World in Florida. And they went to see Mike Eisner, who was then the CEO, president and CEO of the Disney company. And they pitched Disney on, creating the Disney Wide World of Sports fantasy camp, where you could get, if you're a rich dude from New York, you could pay a lot of money and go down and get 10 days of training. I mean, it's not serious training for actual Major League Baseball, but just you could wear a Yankees uniform. If you're a Yankees fan, you'd meet a former great Yankee who would be there, and you'd pay a lot of money for that. It was, I thought, a very good idea. But Disney told them, no, we're not interested. And so the guy said, oh, okay, that's too bad. We thought it was a good idea. And about a year later, maybe it wasn't even a year later, but about a year later, the Disney company announces proudly, hey, coming soon to Disney World, the Wide World of Sports, Disney's Wide World of Sports. And I remember hearing from one of the guys who was, like I said, a middle-aged Canadian guy, not particularly in great shape either, that he was literally sitting at home when, watching one of those, CNN broadcasts or something, when sure enough, there's the CEO of Disney announcing it. And they call up Disney and say, wait a second, that's our idea. And you can't just take our idea and run with it. I mean, well, Disney said, no, it's not your idea, it's our idea. Well, that was complete nonsense. And so they actually sued Disney. I don't know if you know this, Sean. They sued Disney.
I didn't.
They did. And because I knew the Canadian guy, they sued Disney, and it was two little minnows against, like a giant shark. And they asked me, at least the Canadian guy said, what do you think our chances are? I said, in Canada, your chances would be close to zero. We don't tend to sue each other as much, and it's very costly to sue people. And I hope, James, you and Simon are not involved in too much litigation. The same thing for Sean and for myself, frankly. And so it's very costly. But in the United States, you can find attorneys who will take it on a contingency fee basis, which means you don't pay them anything. They get maybe 30% of the award. So to get an opportunity to sue Disney, and there was all kinds of evidence that they had presented to Disney. They had given them all of their plans and ideas. And sure enough, it wasn't that much later, maybe 3 years after they sued them, they got a judgment. I don't remember what it was, but it was something like $250 million.
Wow, that's pretty quick too. Yeah.
And I remember the guy calls me up and said, guess what? And after paying 30% contingency, I think he was left, he got half and his buddy got the other half. I think he was left with about 70 or 75 million US dollars. And what I said to myself is, Mr. Eisner, Mike Eisner, and the Disney company could have said to them, listen, we kind of like the idea, let us think about it. And then they could have said, look, we're going to do it on our own. We don't need you two tubby middle-aged guys to help us, figure out how to run a sports training facility. We can figure that out on our own. How about we give each of you 500,000 US dollars for your idea, and we'll just run with it? And they probably would have said yes. It made no sense at all. And of course, it gave Disney a black eye. I mean, these poor, tubby middle-aged guys that you just literally are running over roughshod, and the jury didn't buy it. I think Mr. Eisner actually had to give evidence. Anyway, so the reason I tell you that is the sports training industry is a great industry, in my opinion, for a whole lot of reasons. One, Sean can train up elite athletes. There's no doubt about that. But two, he can run, if he's successful, which I believe he can be for a long time, he can train up people of all ages and shapes and sizes. It doesn't just have to be for elite athletes. Would you not agree with that, Sean?
No, 100%. We're doing a clinic in Orlando for adults in October.
So you can, it's like teaching ballroom dancing to somebody who's 50. You know, maybe they go on TV, what is it called, Dancing with the Stars or something like that, but they're never going to win a dance competition. But that doesn't matter. It's good for people
Yeah.
to be active and to get up off their backsides and do stuff. So I really like the idea. Now, a couple of things that I didn't like, and one of them was Sean went into a rented facility last time. You know, he mentioned when we started this call that the first go at this did not work out very well. And the guy who was doing the lease for Sean, I don't think did a very good job on the master lease. It was not well thought out. And just to give you an example, typically when you sign a lease with a major landlord, you could get a leasing inducement of about $5 or $10 a square foot, maybe more. Do you guys know what a leasing inducement is?
No.
Yep.
So quite often landlords will make a contribution to the fit up cost of their tenants. Okay,
Yeah.
so if Sean were to rent, you know, a 60,000 square foot space in a large industrial building and he got $10 a square foot to help him with his build out, that's $600,000, right? Even I can do that multiplication in my head, right? And, you know,
And now that I know about inducement, that would have made all the difference in the world.
would have made a big difference, I think. So,
Yeah.
so it was just that Sean used a realtor, not me, I have to tell you. Okay, just for the record here, we're recording this just for ourselves, but I didn't do the lease, somebody else did. And I'm sure he tried hard,
Correct.
but he didn't know what he was doing because there were all kinds of issues. For example, you might also put in that to protect Sean on a lease, in addition to the leasing inducement, that he gets a 3 or 4 month fit up period where he's not paying anything, or maybe just paying the utilities. And then maybe he gets a rent free period on top of that just to help him out. And there's all kinds of things you can do to help out a tenant. And a lot of those things were missing in that lease. So it kind of sank the boat. So Sean, one of the things I've recommended to you in the past, and then it just occurred to me a couple of weeks ago that we might resurrect that idea, is that you might buy something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at least in my experience, it's easier to raise money for something you own than raise money for something you lease. Just as a general rule. I don't know, James, I mean, you have, I think you said 21 doors in your portfolio, which is really impressive, Sean, for somebody who's 27, I think.
Yeah.
27.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's really great. That's a hell of a good job on your part, James. But you know, if you were to open that up to investors, you could probably get a few investors say, oh yes, I believe in James. I think he knows what he's doing. He knows how to buy property. He knows how to animate it, which means add more revenues to it. He knows how to manage it properly. So there are a lot of people out there who don't know those things. Because, James, you're in the business, you know, you and me tend to discount all the expertise that we have in this business, but it's worth something.
Right.
So it would be, I think, easier to raise money, Sean, for something you own as opposed to something you lease. That's my belief. All right. So I did a few slides.
Mm-hmm.
Simon, as you get to know me better, I can't say hello without a slide deck. All right, so I apologize in advance. You probably figured that out about me already. So I have a few slides, Sean, that I wanted to show everybody today. In part, I wanted to show James and Simon because they're helping me sell this property. Okay, so just, you know, we're in. If you were to put in an offer, we would be in multiple representation. You understand that, Sean?
I don't know.
Okay, that means we would represent both the sellers. And
Gotcha.
That means,
Yeah,
you know, now lawyers are not allowed to do that, right? So,
yeah.
You know, you've heard me say this before, I think, James, if you were ever accused of a crime, you would not want the Crown Attorney in Canada or the District Attorney in the United States to represent you and also the state. But in Ontario, Sean, realtors like Simon and James are allowed to be in multiple rep.
Yeah, it's your listing. Got it.
It's our listing, yeah. So I wanted to make sure I disclose that. I still think it's a good listing for you to look at. And as your coach and friend, I would recommend it, even if it wasn't my listing, because I really like it. Anyway, it's in Moose Creek, which is about 45 minutes from the Ottawa International Airport. So it's not inside the borders of the city of Ottawa, but it's about 45 minutes from the airport. This is the property here. I've walked it a number of times. I really like it. And these aerial photographs, I think, came from your photographer, James.
Yeah.
And I think they're fantastic. Anyway, it's in Moose Creek. And there are two large industrial buildings on it. The zoning is agricultural, but it has two large industrial buildings on it now. It has a huge barn. It has a house here and a workshop there. And it has 15 acres of farm field here, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. And it has beautiful land. All of this even over here, Sean, is so it's 53 acres. You can do a lot of damage with 53 acres. We're getting a little closer in. The barn is pretty primitive. I still like it, but these buildings are in great shape. These were built in 2008.
Okay.
There's just a little bit of a closer look at it. There's the workshop, and you can sort of see the house here. And there's these two industrial buildings. I think it has three-phase power. Am I right about that? Yeah, which is actually, I think, a big plus. So it has three-phase. You can see the power poles here. So it's got lots of power, which is good. And then here are the two big buildings. So when we listed this for sale for two young clients who are also coaching clients of mine, Alex and Frankie, when I thought about you, Sean, I thought about pickleball courts inside these buildings. They're not big enough and high enough for tennis, but they might be for pickleball.
Potentially, yep.
Potentially. This is one of the buildings. I don't think we were able to get photographs in the other building.
No.
All right. So this one is, so I think this building is, this one.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And this one we weren't able to get into.
Fair enough.
No, it's basically the same size, same ceiling height and everything. They just don't want pictures taken in there.
All right. And I think these are air conditioners over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got lots of AC for summertime, and you've got heat for the winter time. And the ceiling height here is 16 feet. All right. So for pickleball, 18 is better, but at least there's some height here. It's not 8 feet.
Yep.
All right. And of course, in the summertime, you probably wouldn't air condition. You just open the windows, open the overhead doors. You'd have this indoor-outdoor thing. This is the house on the site, and there's a detached garage, which is, I think it's been turned into a workshop. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think so. And then this is the approach to the property. It's quite beautiful, and I really like it. And then here's just another shot. So you can see the two big buildings are set back from the road. There's the farm field. There's the row of trees that frame the ingress and egress. And I think, if I'm right, I think does the property include this piece here?
Yeah, it comes right up to that side driveway.
To the road, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's not quite rectangular shape, but it's big. All right. Just another shot. There's the main road. There's the sort of side road there, and
You can almost see Castleman.
what's that?
You can almost see Castleman.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
There is a Matterport tour, which is a 3D tour, but we're not going to do that now.
That's fine.
So this is the MLS thing. 53 acres, two industrial buildings. One building is 8,000 square feet and the other is 7,800 square feet. So almost 16,000 square feet. In theory, how many pickleball courts could you put in 8,000 square feet, Sean?
So 4.
Yeah. So
three to 4.
Yeah, it might get 3 or 4 in each building, at least theoretically.
Theoretically,
It has a house on it. You might be able to add a coach house at some point. It's great for parking vehicles, RV, whatever else. If you were to do some parking on there, it is an agricultural zone. So obviously agricultural use is allowed, bed and breakfast, bunkhouse, home-based business. So that's important as well. And I guess a winery is also allowed. And I asked them for, again, the ceiling heights here. You can see it on my screen here, Sean. So this building, industrial building 1, is a little smaller than building number 2. It has 16 feet, and the other one also has 16 feet. And the overhead doors are huge. They're 14-foot doors. So that's pretty cool. It's currently listed for $1.455 million. All right. So just under $1.5 million.
Yep.
The property taxes are about $15,000 per year. Are they exactly $15,000 per year, James?
think it was just a little bit less, but they
Right
go
in
up
that
like
area.
2%.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, which I think is, you know, it's a lot of money, but I think it's reasonable for what it is. Then I actually looked at the pickleball courts, and they're 20 feet wide by 44 feet long, so I think they could fit in there. And they recommended 18 to 20 feet of ceiling height, but instead of 18 to 20, we have 16. So I don't know if that'll work, but I thought so. And then, as I said earlier in this recording, from Moose Creek to the airport is about 47 minutes, something like that. So it's not, you know, it's not next door, but it's not Toronto either. This is the old barn here. And I actually quite like it. I'm not sure what we would do with it, but I think, Sean, you know that I turned one of my barns into a series of workshops.
Yep.
And which has been very successful. So that's something that you might consider with this. And you know, you can put a bunch of these workshops in it. This is a shot of, again, of the house and the detached garage. This actually, I have shots of this is my barn, which I think I have I think I have 10 workshops in there now. And recently I added a little tiny house to it as well. So I've got somebody living there and working there. Something else that I thought of doing with this property, if somebody were to buy it, was to take that, you know, remember that farm field that was at front? It's about 15 acres, Sean.
Mhm.
And one of the things I thought about that is, if you rent it to a farmer, you'll get between $70 and $100 per acre per year. So 15 acres might be $1,500 of rent for the year. And that's not very much money for 15 acres. So one of the models I'm dying to try out is to divide that 15 acres into small plots of maybe 50 by 100, so 5,000 square foot gardens. So each individual could have 5,000 square feet. When you could put, I mean, in 15 acres, you could put, probably could put 100 of those there. But what I was thinking is that you could create small gardens here of 50 feet by 100, 5,000 square feet, and you could add a small bunkie to each one. And one of the neat things about these bunkies, and here's one of the ones that I really like. It's made by bunkielife.com, which is a Canadian company. And one of the things I like about it is the footprint is so small, you don't even need a building permit for it. So you could have, 30 bunkies and 30, gardeners having their own little sort of cottage there, and, with their own little white picket fence around it. And that does produce significant revenues, which you'll see in a minute. Here's Bunkie Life. They sell these bunkies for just under 10 grand. In fact, they've cut the price because during the pandemic, they were selling these like, Aunt Jemima pancakes, but they've cut it now by $500. So they're actually $9,500 instead of $10,000. But they're quite cool. And by the way, Sean, these bunkies can sleep 4 people, 2 up in the loft and 2 at grade. And they're really cool. So maybe you could get, I'm not going to go through all of my numbers here, because I do this because I'm interested in it in detail. But, if you rented it to a farmer, maybe you get $1,000 or $2,000 a year from it. But if you were to just put 30 plots and 30 bunkies on it, you could probably net about 115 to 120,000. So skill testing question, I'll give this one to Simon. What's better, $117,000 a year or $1,500 a year?
Yeah, I would go with the 170.
And Simon, I believe that this is a legal model. And this, to me, is the future of agricultural land. Listen, I'm fine with the big farms in Saskatchewan and Alberta, and some in Ontario as well, doing industrial scale farming. We all have to eat. That's important. But a lot of people would love to have, in my opinion, would love to have a bunkie where they could bring their kids, grow some vegetables, maybe drink a beer, play, not the kids, I'm talking about the adults, drink a beer, play the guitar, maybe crash in their bunkie overnight and then go home. So there are lots of things you could do with this, Sean, that I thought. Do you mind if I just, for a couple of minutes, play this short Bunkie Life walkthrough? I just think you'd enjoy it, Sean.
Sure.
Is that okay with you guys?
Yep.
Oops. Are we playing? Ooh,
Yeah.
maybe not. Oh, I don't. Hang on a second. Oh, I have to switch screens. Sorry about that. I kept clicking and it didn't do anything. All right, see if I can do it this time. Tell me, give me the thumbs up if you can hear it.
You're good.
Let me show you the intricate details of the 2019 loft model. It's one of our best sellers, and let me show you why. So as we approach the cabin here, you can see it's got nice double French doors. The lock and the key come with this bunkie, and there's also a side window here that opens up, and it's easy to put a screen on. Let me show you the inside. So as we come inside, you can see that like all of our bunkies, this one finishes really nice on the inside. And there's the window that I showed you earlier. And there's also there's side ladder and another additional side window that comes standard with the kit. Now, if you want, you can add on more windows as well for basically $200 a window. And let me also show you the interior. That is a queen size bed that fits very nicely. And then over here on the other side of the ladder, you can see I've got a little, actually a pretty big chair. It's a big comfy lounge chair. And then also a little writer's desk and a little chair there. And then there's a fair bit of room in the corner there as well. And I keep this whole cabin with a little ceramic heater there in the corner, and then an electric blanket on the bed. And I've had guests stay all winter. It's not an insulated building, so it does get a little cold if it gets quite cold outside, but down to about -5, -10, it's pretty good. Now let me show you the coolest thing. I'm climbing up the ladder here. Ladder comes standard with the kit, as well as the railing. And here's the loft for the kit. I added a little air conditioning unit, which is awesome for the summer. This is the cabin doesn't get too hot, and there's also a window there that opens up, and it's easy to put a screen on as well, so you can get some breeze if you don't want to put the air conditioning unit or if you're off grid. And this whole area here, I've got some mattresses and stuff in here right now, but basically it fits 2 singles or a queen size mattress, and you can sleep 2 people. You know, it's cozy, but definitely doable. So a lot of our customers will have, you know, the sleeping quarters up here, and then down here, they'll, instead of a bed, they'll have like a little kitchenette or a little lounge area, like a TV kind of thing. So the whole thing itself is 100 square feet of interior space in the bottom, plus about 50 square feet for the bed. And you don't need a permit for it because the footprint is under 107 square feet or 10 square meters. So in Canada, at least in Ontario, you don't need a permit. Another great feature about our 2019 loft model is that all of the French door windows, which are tempered glass, as well as the window over there, they come standard double pane windows. That's basically my little tour of the 2019 loft model. Like I say, it's a very popular model. And if you're interested in buying it, shoot me a message or give us a call at 1-866-4-BUNKY.
What'd you think?
It's a pretty cool little thing.
Yeah. What do you think, boys?
Good idea.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think, James, I've talked to you about this model before.
Yeah, I have seen them before. I think I watched that video
I
before.
like it, but I like
actually.
it for different reasons.
What's
Not for gardens. Like I'm trying to figure out how I put more tennis courts and pickleball courts on there. And I like it, but I like it for different reasons. Like I don't want to build gardens. I'm not passionate about gardens. I could care less about gardens or money on gardens. But I would, if those bunkies work, it would be a wonderful thing to put athletes in with parents when they come for tournaments and rent them out. You know what I mean? So different reasons to have those bunkies.
100%. But what you would do, Sean, as political cover is you would say you would you would rent them as bunkies that come with gardens, because then it's consistent with the agricultural zoning.
Yeah.
Right. And if people say, to hell, I don't know a strawberry from a raspberry. Fine, you can just
I don't care. You
can have a bench outside, sip your vodka martini. I don't drink, so I don't know if it's a vodka martini or something else. But you sip your martini and you're good to go, right? So I really like the model, and I thought you would enjoy it. So I showed. That was a really bad video, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, for a company that's
get the idea though.
Oh, it's a wonderful idea for a company though that's doing, you know, $12 million a year in sales. You would think they could produce a better video. Anyway, can you see? I'm back on my slide deck here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought the highest and best use for the property for you, Sean, would be maybe you'd use the house for an on-site manager.
Mhm.
The workshop that's right next to the home could be an excellent classroom. And the 2 industrial buildings could be indoor pickleball courts. And the barn might be workshops, or maybe even more pickleball courts. Just then you wouldn't even heat it. You would just use them in the summer when it's raining. You can obviously do outdoor pickleball courts and tennis courts. At some point, we've talked about this before, you and I, you'd add some bubbles for indoor tennis, right?
Is that allowed? That was
Um,
my big question.
The answer to that is maybe.
Okay, that's critical. Yeah,
It is critical. I'm going to come back to that in a second, all right?
only because it's Canada.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have 3 days of summer, that's, you know. And then the rest is winter. And the farm field would be micro gardens and bunkies, although you would use it probably for your, you know,
Hotel.
your hotel, exactly. But I did say it could be student accommodation, so give me some credit, Sean.
Exactly. Absolutely. It's a
there.
great idea. It's a great idea, right?
A lot of people who have rural property are rolling tiny houses onto it. I did it.
Yeah.
You'd run summer camps, and then
Same thing. Yeah. Same. I love it. I love that idea.
And then the last thing on my list here is it is what I think gives you the right to do the bubble for tennis courts, and that is, Sean, do you know what agritainment is?
Yeah. Well, I can put it together with the Saunders Farm and what they do in the farm, putting up buildings and doing stuff there.
Right, Simon, do you know what it is?
I don't, but I like the name gives me a good gist of it.
So I'll just get out of this for a moment, and I'll go over here. Sorry about this, you guys. I'll go over here and we'll look at Saunders Farm. So Sean, you're familiar with Saunders Farm, right?
Yes, sir.
James, have you ever been there?
No.
Okay. So
No kids yet.
yeah, no, he doesn't have any kids.
Yeah, no kids yet, no.
Yeah, I don't think Simon has either.
Yeah.
No.
So hang on a second. I'll just go grab some images here. So you can sort of see some images here of Saunders Farm, which might actually be helpful. So you've got, so I'll go back. Just give me 1 second. I'll go back in time. So Bill and Ann Saunders established Saunders Farm. It's got to be 30 years ago or more. And what happened was they came to see me. I employed, when I was with the Senators, I employed one of their sons, Dave Saunders. And so one day Bill and Ann show up, and I hadn't met them before. Very nice people. And they said, look, we own a strawberry farm, and it's not 53 acres, Sean. It was, I think, 25 or 30 acres. Maybe it's 35, but it's not 53. Okay, so it's smaller than this property. And they said, we are running a pick your own strawberry farm. Oh, I said, how's that going? They said, not very well. It turns out people, at least initially, thought it was cool to go out in the hot summer sun and start picking strawberries, until they figured they could get them from Costco or Price Club back then a lot cheaper than they could pick their own, and with a hell of a lot less work. So it was a farm that was failing. And I asked Bill and Ann, are you familiar with agritainment? And they said, what the heck is that? And I said, it's adding entertainment uses to farms. And even back then, Sean, it was a really big thing in the United States. And they said, well, do you think we could do that? I said, well, I don't know. Do you think you could do it? And they said, well, we're not sure. I said, what you should do is just go on a tour. You know, just back then you wouldn't have had Google, but you know, there's lots of associations, and they'll have within you know, a couple of 100 miles of Ottawa, there'll be lots of farms in New York State, in Vermont, and elsewhere that are doing agritainment, and agritainment could be any number of things. You know, I don't have to tell anybody on this call how difficult it is to be a farmer, right? You don't get enough water, you get too much water. Prices go up for your crops, then they go down. Insurance costs more, petrol or diesel fuel costs more. I mean, it's an endlessly difficult business. You have to be a businessman, you have to be a you have to know something about agricultural operations. You have to know something about markets. I mean, it's really difficult. And so this has been going on for many decades now. And then they came back to Ottawa, and what they did then was they started as with turning their barns over into sort of scary, Halloween type things. And so from September 1st, from today on until October 31st, every day at Saunders Farm, they'll have, hay rides, and they'll have their barns turned into, you can see it here. I'll show you here, the, barn of terror, right? And sure enough, in the first year, I think 13,000 people showed up, with their little kids, and paid them $10. And that saved the farm. And then since then, they've expanded into summer camps. They've expanded into weddings. And it's become a very successful venue for so many different things. So that's on agricultural land. Now, there was a neighbor across the street, a retired RCMP officer. And what he did was he complained to the city because he had also tried to establish on his farm across the street an agritainment use, and he had failed. And he was literally off his rocker, and he was jealous of Anne and Bill's success. And so he would stand outside, in September and October when that's their peak season, at least for the Halloween stuff that they do. And he would have like pickets saying, don't, come to Saunders Farm, and just stupid stuff like that. And every day he'd be calling bylaw officers, et cetera, and, to come and tell Bill and Ann that they had to cease and desist. So then Bill and Ann came back to me and said, we've now got a 7-figure operation going on, and we've got this crazy guy across the street, and we've got the bylaw people all over us. And I said, well, why are you not allowed to run agritainment? It's literally all across North America, including Alberta and Saskatchewan and other parts of Canada. And so they did inquire about adding that use to their land, and they were told they would have to spend anywhere upwards of $800,000 or $900,000 in planning fees to change the zoning. So then they came back to me and said, where the hell are we going to get, $1 million to change the zoning? I said, don't do it. So what I did was I went to see the mayor of Ottawa, and I said, look, why are we making war on our farms and our farmers? We need them, but they can't make a living, many of them, just by growing strawberries. And so fortunately, in the next official plan, the city of Ottawa, to give them credit, added agritainment as a right for agricultural land. Do you understand, Sean? So as long as you are careful, this is just my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just a lowly engineer, but in my opinion, as long as you're careful and you talk about the bunkies being, part of the agrarian operation, and you talk about agritainment, we're adding entertainment uses to our agricultural use, I think you could do exactly what Saunders Farm did. And they never paid $1, not one dime, to private planners and studies. They never spent the $800,000 or $900,000 to rezone it. Do you understand that? We got the city to change that.
Okay.
Is that a good
I mean, I like that. It's a great answer.
Okay.
We just got to make sure we got to make sure I can do it.
Well, yeah, I suspect it would be fine, but the other thing to realize is Moose Creek is not in Ottawa. So I don't know the Moose Creek official plan the way I do the city of Ottawa's official plan. So that's still something that would have to be, examined. All right. But that's certainly the case.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yep.
All right. So I'll go back to my slide deck now.
And worst case, you could build a barn over it,
I guess,
So,
but I think you
well,
want to have a bubble and you want to do what you want to do.
but if you look at the new Whistler complex, it's framed. It's like I don't know. You're the engineer, as you said. I don't know what the framing type is, but it's pretty awesome, and much more different than a regular bubble.
Yeah, I mean, you could, instead of doing a bubble, you could build a barn. I mean, just a big one.
Yep.
And it might actually be cheaper in some ways than a bubble. I'm not sure about that, but anyway. So the list price is 1.4455 million. Land transfer tax, if you paid the list price, would be about 25,000. Legals would be about $2,300. And I just put numbers together that these are just placeholder numbers. So I put in, you do the project in phases. I thought you'd spend $400,000 or $500,000 fixing up the place to suit you, at least for phase one, whatever that looks like. You might buy some bunkies, which I think would be really a good thing to add. And then your revenues would be, your bunkie rentals, your sports training revenues, your summer camps, your sponsorships, your memberships. You're probably going to run some leagues, your workshops, and your home rental, right? So those are the kind of revenue numbers. I don't even know what they would be, so those numbers are left blank here. But you'll have some better understanding of what your costs would be and your revenues would be. So this spreadsheet needs a lot of work. It's just right now it's just placeholders.
Yep, fair enough.
And then in terms of financing, if you bought it for the list price, you could probably get a first mortgage of 65% loan to value, so probably around $900,000.
Yep.
And there's lots of RRSP mortgages, so you could probably get a second mortgage of 25% from RRSP funding, because you can go up to 90 or even 95% loan to value with an RRSP second mortgage. I think they'll go up to 90% for sure, and maybe even 95, but I went with 90%.
Yeah.
So you would need, just to close this thing, you need about $170,000 of cash to close it. That would get you the property, but then you need, this was just a complete guess on my part, but you probably need, to do some of the stuff that you want to do, you probably need close to $1 million to really add the stuff that you want. Now, there's some things, once you're in place, there's some things that are really good in terms of financing renovations. And I think we've talked about it before, the small business loan program, Canada Small Business Loan Program. Sean, do you remember that?
Yep. Yes, absolutely.
I think they'll now go up to $1.5 million.
Okay.
And it's a wonderful program. Simon, do you know it?
I'm not familiar, no.
James, you might know.
It's a good program.
James?
Nope.
Okay, so the Canada Small Business Loan Program is designed actually for tenant improvements. So Sean, the way you would set this up is you'd have one company would own the land and you would lease it to your sports training academy. So you'd have two companies. And the sports training academy, which is the tenant, can apply for a small business loan. And I think, as I said, I think they go up now. It used to be that they went up to $350,000. Now they go up to $1.5 million, I think. And they're specifically designed by Canada to help companies under $10 million a year in sales with their fit up, right? So if you wanted to fit up for pickleball courts or whatever you're doing, it is a perfect vehicle for that. And Simon and James, what's really cool about it is 75% of every small business loan is guaranteed by the government of Canada.
Wow.
Yeah. So what that means is that, let's say you borrow $900,000 and something goes wrong, you are on the hook for 25%. The other 75%, Canada has to write the check.
Wow.
It's a really, really good program. And I like it. And many, many, many of my clients have used it. Something else too that, Sean, you and I talked about before was some of the work that I did for the Ottawa Ultimate Association. Simon, do you know what Ultimate is?
You mean like Ultimate Frisbee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so the Ultimate Association came to see me. This is quite a while ago now too, and they are the largest. The Ottawa Ultimate Association is the largest ultimate association in the world. We have more ultimate players in Ottawa than any other city of the same size or even bigger. And this is the largest club in the world. And they didn't have enough fields, and they wanted to buy some fields where they could expand their operations. So and they had no money. At least that's what they said. And so this is in Manotick Station, where I helped them buy. I think it was 50 acres where they had built I think 20 new, relatively new, ultimate fields. And so it was 50 acres.
Yeah.
This is some time ago. It would be more expensive today. The purchase price was $150,000. They needed $125,000 for phase one improvement. So again, you've got to remember this goes back probably close to 15 years. And they had only $15,000 in cash. So they needed $135,000 plus land transfer tax and whatever the cost just to close this thing. And they got turned down by a number of banks, and they were really quite desperate. I'm just going to skip through these slides. They're not relevant here. And when they came to see me, I said, look, you guys have a huge asset. No. They said, we only got 15 grand. I said, no. How many members again have you got? They said, over 10,000. I said, wow. And what are their dues every year? They said, well, we charge $10. I said, why don't you do a survey and see how many of your members would agree to increase the dues from, say, $10 a year to $25 a year? It's not a big increase. You know, if you're working for the government of Canada and you play ultimate on the weekend, you know, maybe you're making $100,000. An extra $15 a year to the association isn't the end of the world. And sure enough, overwhelmingly, they said, yeah, if we could contribute in some way to, you know, buying this. So think about the extra $15 a year, gentlemen, from 10,000 members. That's $150,000 a year, every year, right? And that's what they did. So that's how they financed it. So they really bootstrapped it in two ways. One, they raised their membership dues a little bit and raised an extra $150,000 a year, literally forever. And they also asked the farmer, or at least I asked the farmer on their behalf, if the farmer would give a seller take back mortgage, which he did. So they bootstrapped it, and it's a very successful operation. It's ongoing to this day. So that's my presentation.
It's busy out there, let me tell you. Yeah, it is. It's crazy. Very good. Well done, sir.
So, I mean, listen, what I was thinking is if you're interested, you should, Simon or James, or maybe both of them, but certainly one of them could take you and show you the place. You could walk around and have a look at it. And then if you like it, you'd make some kind of an offer. Because we're in multiple representation, Sean, we can't tell you what you should offer, the price.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
You have to figure that out on your own.
Yeah,
and we can't tell the sellers what they should accept. You know, we're in multiple rep. But I really like it. I think you could do wonders with this property. And, you know, if you're interested, go and have a look at it, put in an offer if you want to, with some conditions in it, including the zoning check that you want to check, that agri-tainment is an allowed use. In Moose Creek is which county?
Is it North Stormont or
Is it?
It's North Stormont. North Stormont.
North Stormont. So
yeah.
if you guys are doing a zoning check, I want to be involved in that, because I'll ask the question. Because if you ask the wrong question, the answer, every planner, they only give one word answers, and it's always the same.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They literally have a one word vocabulary. Yeah. But if I ask them, it might be a little different. Okay, so if you put in an offer, Sean, it would be with conditions. One of the conditions would be financing. You've got to drum up some money.
I lost her.
Can you hear me okay?
Thank you. You talking? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Back.
So
yeah.
if you were to visit it, and you like it, James and Simon will help you drop an offer. You'd put some conditions in it. Financing would be one condition. Another would be the zoning check. There'd be a few others. Simon and James, you know, you have to put in deliveries like a survey and MPAC assessments and stuff like that, and property taxes. So there'd be deliveries, there'd be some conditions, and you probably need, because it's a rural property and you need to do the financing, you probably need at least 4 weeks of conditions. All right, it's not like buying a bungalow in Barhaven. You know, you can usually work through those conditions in a week, or maybe a little bit more than a week. But rural property like this, it's going to take. But you have to make up your mind if you're going to look at it. You have to go soon because one, in a few months, we'll be covered in snow. And two, I do think that Simon has somebody else interested in the property.
That's fine. Yeah, so I mean, next week is great. And you know, later in the week is great to go and visit. Love to.
So Simon and James, can you put your contact information in the chat box? And would you mind, sorry, would you mind doing the same? So just,
Yep,
if you
perfect.
don't mind, you know, put your contact information in there, Sean, your, obviously your name, your phone, cell number, and your email address. The boys will do the same. So James, Simon, I'll see you guys in about just over half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see you at 12:30. We've got some other work to do. I won't keep you very long at 12:30.
Hold on, before you guys disappear, I'm just looking for the chat here.
Okay, take
Ah,
your
there we
time.
go. There we go. There we go.
So you have to copy, Simon, did you put it?
I have your email too. If it's easier, I could email you if you want.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm going to put it in.
Yeah,
I'll put my
okay.
number in here. It's
Yeah,
383.
okay. But Simon, did you grab Sean's contact information?
I'm just writing it down right now.
Okay, perfect. So Sean, I really think this is a better route to success than another lease. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'd like to. I'm excited about it.
I think it is, and you know, it'll take you a decade to fully develop this. You know, think about Saunders Farm. The first year they had 10,000 people or 13,000 people give them $10.
Yeah.
But now they're well into the 7 figures. But they've been at it now, you know, 3 decades.
Yeah, that's fine.
1 year. So, but when you have 53 acres and you have the farm field and you have the industrial buildings and, you know, I listen, I don't want to overemphasize it, and I'm not emphasizing it because it's a listing of mine and James and
Yeah, no, I'm with you, buddy. That's
I
fine.
really believe that, you know, this has great potential. I really believe. In fact, I told the young Alex and Frankie who are selling it, I told them not to sell it.
Okay.
But they have other fish they want to fry, and they twisted my arm as their coach. And I said, okay, well, James and I and Simon will sell it. I really don't want you to sell it. But I wanted them to not split. I wanted them to develop the property along the lines that we had talked about. But like they bought some other land that they want to go into the storage business. So I said, okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So listen, I appreciate the time today, Sean. James, you and Simon can follow up directly with Sean. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
See you guys in a little
Thanks,
bit.
guys.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, everybody. Great meeting.